Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Harrisburg City Council legislative session. Today is October 22nd, 2019, and I'm calling this meeting to order at 6 o'clock p.m. Ms. Houston, please do the roll call.
Mr. Allett?
Present.
Ms. Bowers?
Present.
Ms. Daniels?
Here.
Ms. Green?
Present.
Mr. Madsen?
Here.
Mr. Majors?
Here.
President Williams?
Here. Thank you. Moving on to the invocation, Councilwoman Green.
Thank you, President Williams. I'd like to take the time to say a prayer, send our thoughts to all those who are in need here at home and across seas. I'd also like to take the time to recognize Breast Cancer Awareness Month and all those who are affected by breast cancer. So if we'd like to take the time to have a moment of silence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Pledge of Allegiance, Councilman Mr. Majors.
All right, everybody please rise. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Thank you, Mr. Majors. Moving on to communications, we have none this evening. We'll move on to courtesy of the floor. I will start tonight at my left. Anyone to my left, please come to the mic now. In the middle, anyone in the middle who would like to come to the mic, please do so now.
My name is Jean Greco. I haven't been here in a while, but I read public notices all the time in the newspaper, and I know you're going to be drawing up your budget for next year, and I was reading that in November you're going to have a what they call a let me just name it correctly so I'm not. It's called the tax levy legislation, as well as with your budget for the proposed 2020 that you're going to submit, I guess, November the 26th. I'm just concerned because I was shocked to see the word tax, and I'm concerned about the people that live in Harrisburg, including myself, and we're all on our own fixed incomes, and that I want you to take that into consideration for your next budget. That's all.
We certainly will.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else in the middle, please?
Les Ford, 2033 Bellevue Road, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. First of all, I'd like to take a moment to remember Congressman Cummings, Elijah Cummings, out of Baltimore, Maryland, our neighbor.
Right.
Perhaps I wouldn't say half of what I have to say tonight were it not for people like Elijah Cummings, people who dared to speak out when they saw things that needed addressing. So I will ask you all to take a moment to remember the giant. Mr. Mayor, Baltimore was your city, right? So there should be some acknowledgement of the contributions of Congressman Cummings. I hope that you all will do that. We collectively will do that. In that spirit, I will say that, if you'll indulge me, I come to these meetings because I care about this city. I have been in this city for 25 years. I have lived in the house that I now live in up on the hill for 20 of those years. And it takes a night like this for me to remember why I care about this city and why I challenge myself to speak out about this city. I wasn't going to come tonight, but I decided to, and I came down Bellevue Road between 20th and 19th Street, and I was reminded that less than 2 years ago there was a major shootout on Bellevue Road that was precipitated by a very, very mundane incident of someone blocking the street and another person tooting their horn and demanding that that person move, and a gun was pulled, a warrant was issued. The United States Marshals came to our city and sought to enforce that warrant, and a shootout occurred on Bellevue Road between 19th and 20th. I drove by there today. Someone was sitting in the middle of the street. Didn't want to move when I pulled up behind them to get down here. So, what does that have to do with anything? It has to do with the city. It has to do with observation. It has to do with having the presence of mind to notice and to speak up. So that's what I'm doing. I get down to 19th and Bellevue, and there is a flood at the corner, the same flood at the corner of 19th and Bellevue that has been there for the 20 years that I've been on the Hill. It has to do with community engagement, community involvement, municipal leadership. Trash causes a good bit of that backup. The people who live there don't pay attention to it, so they just say, oh, nature will take care of it, the water will go away. We don't have the money to redo our sewer systems collectively, so that is a part of it. So the negligence of the people is one part of it. The infrastructure historically is a part of it. But the ability of us as citizens of this city to pay attention to it is certainly part of it. So those are two instances that drove me down here. So finally I'm here, and I listen and I read the agenda, and I notice that there is no update on the situation with our relationship with and among ourselves having to do with the HUD funding, because that is very important to this city. It has to do with budget and finance. It has to do with building and housing. It has to do with parks and recreation. It has to do with public works. It has to do with the money that comes into the city. Any dollar that comes into the city and is expended in the city, I am told, circulates 6 times. So we should not have a cavalier attitude about money that comes into the city. We should understand the opportunity cost of failure in that regard. So I am here to get a status report, basically. All that has to do with my real reason for coming, which is to ask our municipal government, not city council, not the administration, but the collective municipal government, of the status of the federal money that hangs in the balance right now for our city. And I will finish by saying that it has some urgency because, once again, any dollar that comes into the city and is allocated in the city turns over 6 times. So it is not an immediate thing about a particular project, but it is the question of what is our municipality doing to drive that process, and I'm simply asking for a status report. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Ford. Anyone else in the middle, please? Anyone to my right? Please come to the mic now, please.
Good evening, everyone. Bill Brown, 1944 Swatera Street. I just wanted to talk briefly about the balance of power and how little power struggles over major things can be a major distraction for issues that are important. And maybe Neil will correct me if I'm wrong, but while I'm not really for the privatization of Capital Region Water, because I've seen how that can be a disaster all over the state, it's my understanding that the exploration to see if there's private buyers out there falls to the executive branch first, correct? And then it will go to the legislative branch where they would make a decision to approve or deny, correct? Okay. The problem that I see is that when things are played out in the news over the mayor not communicating to the council about or being involved, it tends to cloud the real issue. I mean, it's going to cloud the major thing that's going on, okay? The mayor is within his right, if I'm correct, to do these explorations without council's involvement. Is that right?
To some extent.
Am I right or wrong?
To some extent, sir.
Okay.
And I don't want to get into a debate back and forth with you.
Okay, well, that's...
To some extent.
Yeah, I'm not here to debate. All I'm saying is that when these little spats get played out in the public media, it distracts from the real issue. And to me, as a member of the public, it just seems as if there's a struggle over power. That's the appearance of it. So perception is reality. It seems like everyone has talked about how the executive branch has overstepped on the legislative branch, but also we have to keep in mind that the legislative branch tends to overstep on the executive branch too. So there's just a balance, and I hope that we can respect the balance of the offices. That's all.
You're welcome, sir. Certainly we are certainly collectively trying to do that. Anyone else to my right?
Timothy Rowbottom, 333 South 18th Street. I had a little recording that I wanted to play from Public Works, or from these offices.
For Tim. Tim, this is the Amanda Buchanan from the city of Harrisburg. Calling you regarding that cherry picker that's parked on Reedy Road. Got a complaint from the mayor's office, and to deal with that.
Can hardly hear it. Tim, we can hardly hear it.
It's saying repeatedly about a cherry picker being parked on my property, and that there's a complaint from the mayor's office, and that because it's from the mayor's office, we have to act on it right away. Very directed at targeting me from this administration that I've reported multiple times. But I would like to put on record, I would like to put on official record many of the unethical and possible illegal actions being presented to multiple courts concerning real property theft, labeled in the Middle District docket 119 CV 657, labeling fraud, slander, unjust enrichment, negligence, intentional infliction of emotional distress, quantum maru, conversion, trespass to land, and assault. Then I would like to let the council know about docket number 2019 CV 06964 CV, labeling many of the same causes of action with monopolized and unethical uses of public works. Then I would like to docket number 2019 CV 5960 CV, showing more unethical and possible illegal actions by this administration using codes and zoning office as weapons. Then docket 2019 CV 5951 MD in Commonwealth Court for violations of the right to know laws. Then docket 455 XX 2019 in Commonwealth Court for violations of the 509 Judiciary Records request. And I would like those just to all be put on the record, that people can look up and see what is actually being played out by this administration for the rezoning, gentrification practices, for negligence that I even believe to be on a criminal level, and we're waiting to see if that is true or not. But I would like to make council aware of many of injustices being played out through this administration and through city council. Many injustices are being played out daily upon the residents for the Democrat white elite's benefit. It has been proven that this current administration has lost in multiple courts using its powers to deny lawful businesses to prosper while criminally allowing others, like the 3rd Street Cafe. Furthermore, this administration has pushed through the rezoning of many commercial properties that are denied the uses purchased for to allow his partners to get properties cheaply, and even use properties that were denied any structure to be built on. It is clear that the rezoning was put through to gentrify properties for him and his cronies to prosper while hurting current property owners to do so. How are partners of the mayor, which he backs, allowed to put a medical marijuana dispensary on ground that was not allowed to be built on because of underground springs? Furthermore, how are we allowing an agency business to put in medical marijuana dispensaries in multiple cases close to schools and poverty zones? Isn't it bad enough that these areas have poverty? To take that money, they have to treat the dysfunction created by these administrative repressors, while white elite Democrats get rich. What respect are we showing to the community without money? Are we taking tax dollars to train or to educate? Are you taking tax dollars to prosper the rich and take from the poor, and even doing it in an attacking manner, allowing ones that have no stake in living and residing here to prosper off those that do? What is it teaching our children? Children will grow up thinking it's normal and cool to smoke weed, marijuana, while stealing all their inspiration and drive and entrench them in another act of slavery in the system. I wonder how many partners of the mayor will get grants while denying Christian nonprofits. Why is the mayor allowed to target Christian nonprofits like my own, promoting ownership of house, car, and business, and training to be able to get out of the system you are creating of repressing and stacking the odds against the next generation? Meanwhile, this administration promotes homosexuality, lesbian, and transgender reading to our children.
Mr.
Wake up, council. What do you
Okay.
leave the next generation?
Thank you. Anyone else to my right, please?
My name is Robert Kennedy from Harrisburg. I just walked in, so I don't know what's on the agenda. The 13th of August, I spoke here about Multicultural Center on Allison here, and remind everyone that we're going to be working with some of the blighted lots. I just recently left Allison here, and my intention was to bring a training program that we had put together. Some of the multicultural people, one of my persons here from the multicultural group, Mr. Vilo, and but it was raining, so I didn't bring the paper. The reason I just left is one of the training lot at Market Street, 1243, 1245, and 1247 Market Street. We just got support from the city to kind of clear and clean that lot up, but it has a hole in it. I just finished putting tape up around it because I don't want anybody to go out there and fall in and hurt themselves or their animal. So I put some caution tape up. But what I want to tell you about the program, we adopt those lots all the way from Market Street, Market and 13th, all the way down to Cameron Street. And we do have a training program, or as you know, I'm a veteran. We believe in putting standard operation procedures together, which we have done already, and I will present it to the city council. I dropped by the clerk's office. But we're gonna need support and help because we've been operating out of a building on Market Street for years. Mr. Vilo been working with me. I did the after-school program, and we've been working with that diverse community for years. But now we want to operate in the building, so we got to go through the protocol of operating in the building. The lots are when we got the lots, we looked at processes. We realized over the years that Harrisburg had these programs, there has been no processes and no systems. Once we put the processes together, we put a training program together. It took a while. I even got a complaint from 1100 block of Market Street that we hadn't cut the grass. But the reason we didn't cut the grass right away, because in our processes, in our operation procedure, the first thing we want to do with any property, a lot that we have, is to identify it and know what's on it. Now with this particular lot, we dug up car parts, old tires, I mean, you name it. Apparently they had been buried out there for years. We have a big sign, $250 fine if you dump. They dump right by the sign. So anyway, what took our time is to really go through the process of clearing the lot, cleaning the lot, find out what's on the lot. We got needles, we got all kind of drug paraphernalia, we got all kind of chemicals and poison. We got all kinds of things out of the lot. Of course, we identified the proper people, the police, and that we need to turn the needles into or whatever. But you won't believe what's on some of these lots. Now we're going to continue to really clear them up and clean them up, but we are going to do it the right way.
Okay.
Now for the next few weeks, you'll see the beautification kind of spurred out from 13th Street all the way down to Cameron Street. That is, we also just had a shooting out there. That is the most diverse area in Harrisburg. We have the most issues in any other place in Harrisburg. And we do not want somebody to come out there and try to work with us that don't know what they're doing. Because we know the community very well, we interact with them, we de-escalate a lot of the issues and problems. But everybody just can't do that. And they're not going to accept everybody. So again, I'm not going to speak too long because I will be bringing a package to you, show you our training program next week. And thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Anyone else to my right?
Hello, Rachel. Excuse me, Rachel Goad. I live at 1011 North Front Street. I was here for the CRW presentation, I think, last week, and I found that really helpful and informative. I'm glad that you all hosted that. I thought that their plan was well thought out to address the needs of reducing pollution via the EPA. And I was curious to know if the mayors had a chance to review the materials more that they had produced, because it sounded like there were still some questions about some of those things.
Mayor, would you respond, please?
Yeah, we still haven't seen a plan in terms of an engineer plan for how they're going to address the pollution issues. They are planning to present that to the city, I think, on November 4th, and so I'm looking forward to that, and we'll
Will that be a public presentation?
I think you should ask for it. I asked for it from CRW, and I think it should be public, but ultimately I think that's up to them.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Anyone else to my right? Okay, thank you. Moving on to approval of minutes. Approval of the legislative session minutes of October the 8th, 2019. Council members, are there any omissions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, minutes will stand as approved. Moving on to reports of committee. Report from Chair Allett on the work session of October the 15th, 2019. Mr. Allett, are you ready with your report?
I am, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up for discussion at the work session on October 15th of 2019 was Resolution 72 of 2019, which is the fourth proposed budget reallocation for the year. Two major components of this reallocation included a reimbursement from CRW for some project items that were out of the original scope of work, so that was a reimbursement into the city. The other major component of the reallocation was the transfer of unused funds out of the personnel line items into the debt service fund per an agreement that we made during the passage of the budget at the conclusion of 2018. This is up for vote tonight. I encourage my colleagues to vote in support of this resolution. Thus ends my report.
Thank you, Mr. Allett. Moving on to ordinance for first reading. Bill 11, 2019, Ms. Houston.
Bill 11 of 2019 was moved by Mr. Dave Madsen, and it was seconded by Ms. Asha Green. It is an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Harrisburg for the Marketplace Midtown area, zoned primarily residential, medium density, RM, to change the zoning designation to commercial neighborhood, CN.
That will be placed in Community and Economic Development Committee. Moving on to ordinance for amendment. Bill 7, 2019.
Bill 7 of 2019, was moved by Wes Majors, and it was seconded by Asha Green. It is an ordinance to technically amend and update the codified ordinances of the city of Harrisburg to conform with 2018 legislative acts adopted by the city council regarding Part 3 of Title 9 of the codified ordinances of the city of Harrisburg entitled Municipal Waste, Recycling, and Composting Code, to provide severability and repeal for all prior inconsistent city ordinances, and to supplement the appendix of the codified ordinances of the city of Harrisburg with a rental, collection, and disposal rate schedule for large sanitation containers used for construction and demolition waste, residential waste, and the farm show.
That needs an amendment read. Mr. Grover, please read that into record.
Thank you, Madam President. I will note, essentially, this is a technical amendment to a technical amendment.
Okay.
So one of the requirements is that on amendment, all changes be read into the record, which is what I will do for the council.
Thank you.
Starting on page 2 of the amended document at line 61, there's added a subsection 8 to section 9-303.2 municipal waste collection, which reads, notwithstanding any other provision to the contrary in this title, the Director DPW is authorized, I, to provide containers for short-term rental to a property owner, property manager, or general contractor overseeing a renovation, construction, or demolition project for the purpose of disposing of construction and demolition waste materials or municipal garbage within the city of Harrisburg. 2, to offer short-term rental exclusively for the convenience of the city in order to provide for the efficient removal and disposal of construction and demolition waste and other solid waste materials outside the routine collection of residential or commercial municipal solid waste collection and disposal services. 3, to provide for short-term rental containers with a capacity of 20, 30, or 40 yards, whichever may be appropriate in the judgment of the Director DPW. 4, to require permits for occupancy of any street or right-of-way by a dumpster or other container. 5, a short-term rental period of a dumpster or other container under this section shall be no longer than 10 calendar days unless extended for good cause in writing by the Director DPW. The next amendment goes down on the line 92 on the next page. It's under Section 9-303.4, rates for municipal waste services, under subcategory B, collection rates, and adds the words containers or compactors after the word dumpsters to the subsection, and provides the words containers and compactors on line 93, in addition to the word dumpsters, to be covered under the collection rates. It then adds at the bottom on line 109, under subsection C2 for disposal rates, section 2 deals with commercial properties. It adds a sentence it amends a sentence which will read in total: the city, through the director, DPW, shall set the disposal rates for individual customers whose municipal waste is collected in dumpsters, and now adding containers or compactors consistent with the approved supplemental appendix, or which, due to size of dumpsters, containers, or compactors, or the compaction of waste, do not fit within the rate schedule for the appendix. Rate schedules or agreements authorized under the preceding sentence shall be in the general form of the current farm show rate schedule attached here as Appendix B. We then go to the last page of the actual document, which is lines 171, 172 to 174, which is the concluding paragraph under section 6, supplement to Chapter 9 of the appendix. Chapter 9 of the appendix of the codified ordinance of the Harrisburg shall be supplemented to include the City of Harrisburg's rate schedule for 20-yard, 30-yard, and 40-yard containers used for construction and demolition waste, residential waste, and then we add compactor collection and disposal, and the farm show, a true and correct copies of which are appended hereto as supplement to appendix marked as Appendix A and Appendix B. And Appendix A and Appendix B were originally provided just in a different format. They were changed in order to make them uploadable to the E-code system so that they could be seen in the appendix. And the information I just provided was information that was actually in the original appendix to this bill, and we just changed it over to actually reflect it in the body of the ordinance.
Okay, how about under 9-311.4 penalties on line 142? Is that also an amendment?
Line 142.
By a fine of $1,000 plus costs?
So that was in the original ordinance that came
put-
to you. So that was
okay.
already in the record as
Okay, so
prior to
just,
tonight.
all right, but you had it as amended?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Grover. Moving on to ordinance for final passage.
I think you want to adopt a motion to adopt those
Oh, I'm
amendments.
sorry, that's right, I'm sorry. Okay, any questions or comments on Bill 7 regarding the amended version of Bill 7, 2019, council members? Call the vote, please.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Ms. Bowers?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Madsen?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
President Williams?
Yes.
Bill 7 of 2019 passes.
Nope, just the amendment.
Just the amendment, just the
The
amendment.
amended
Right,
version.
right.
Sorry.
Moving on to ordinance for final passage, Bill 7, 2019, as amended.
Bill 7 of 2019, as amended, is an ordinance to technically amend and update the codified ordinances of the City of Harrisburg to conform with 2018 legislative acts adopted by the City Council regarding Part 3 of Title 9 of the codified ordinances of the City of Harrisburg, entitled Municipal Waste Recycling and Composting Code, to provide severability and repeal for all prior inconsistent city ordinances, and to supplement the appendix of the codified ordinances of the City of Harrisburg with a rental, collection, and disposal rate schedule for large sanitation containers used for construction and demolition waste, residential waste, and farm show.
Council members, any questions or comments on Bill 7 as amended?
Just a
Mr.
comment.
Majors?
We mentioned, as the solicitor mentioned, these new rates and container rates were mentioned at our last two city council legislative sessions, as well as a work session. And just for the record, I just wanted to note the container sizes and rates on
Thank you. That's
construction and demolition disposal, which are being proposed. So the construction and demolition disposal will be For a 20-yard container, the rental rate would be $500. A 30-yard container would be $550, and a 40-yard container would be $600. There's also the municipal garbage disposal. The 20-yard container for the compactor is a $210 delivery and pickup fee and $195 per ton disposal fee. For a 30-yard container or a compactor, it's a $220 delivery and pickup fee, and the tonnage, $195 per ton disposal fee. And a 40-yard container would have a $230 delivery pickup fee, $195 per ton disposal fee. And this is a business that the city of Harrisburg currently isn't in, but the passage of this ordinance would allow us to potentially provide this as a option for individuals that are doing construction and demolition on properties.
Mr. Major, as being the Chair of Public Works, would you continue on under additional information?
Okay, additional information.
Give the public
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, and as was mentioned earlier, these are short-term rentals, so it's for 10 days. So if a customer would like to keep a container or a compactor for a period longer than 10 days, there'll be an additional $8 per day charge. Additionally, if any automobile tires are placed in the containers, there will be additional charge for per tire. See, if a customer disposes of more than the allowed level of construction and demolition waste based on container size, there will be an additional $85 per ton charge. And all of this information, if passed, will be available on the E-Code website. So I am asking my colleagues to be supportive of the passage of Bill 7.
Thank you, Mr. Majors. Please call the vote.
Bill 7 of 2019. Okay, Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Ms. Bowers?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Madsen?
Yes.
Excuse me. Mr. Majors?
Yes.
President Williams?
Yes.
Bill 7 of 2019 amended passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to Resolution 72, 2019.
Resolution 72 of 2019 was moved by Ben Allett, and it was seconded by President Williams. It is a resolution approving the fourth proposed 2019 budget reallocation.
Council members, any questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett?
Yes.
Ms. Bowers?
Yes.
Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Madsen?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
President Williams?
Yes.
Resolution 72 of 2019 passes.
Moving on to Resolution 75 of 2019.
Resolution 75 of 2019 was moved by Mr. Madsen, and it was seconded by Asha Green. It is a resolution authorizing the City of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional service agreement with YAG Properties, LLC, YAG, for the purpose of providing technical assistance with the city's post-award implementation of its 2019 HUD-led Hazard Reduction Grant and Healthy Homes Program Grant.
It also will be placed in Community Economic Development. Moving on to Resolution 76.
Resolution 76 of 2019 was moved by President Williams and seconded by Ben Allett. It is a resolution approving the preliminary final land development plan submitted by Peter Bio on behalf of WHRE LLC to construct a medical marijuana dispensary in the city of Harrisburg at 137 South 17th Street.
That will be placed in Administration Committee. Moving on to old business, council members, is there any old business that you would like to discuss? Hearing none, moving on to new business, council members.
Yes, if I could just remind folks that the applications for youth commissions are online, so if you know any students in the Harrisburg area, to please encourage them to submit their application.
Thank you, Ms. Dane. Does anyone else? Okay. The Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement meeting will be held tomorrow at 4:00 p.m. at Temple University, which is located in Strawberry Square building. I don't have anything else for additional. We will have an executive session immediately following the adjournment of this meeting. We'll hold that in the council chambers upstairs, and that's to discuss legal issues. Hearing no other new business, council members, I ask for an adjournment.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Meeting is officially adjourned.